name is Eric Scheidler. I live at 839 Garfield, just down the road. And I already came and spoke to the previous hearing, but there's one point that I'd like to repeat for the benefit of any of the aldermen who were not here at that meeting, and for the gathered room of citizens here, my friends and neighbors of Aurora. This is United States Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, writing for the majority of the United States Supreme Court in the 2002 case Watchtower Society versus the Village of Strand. And here's what Stevens wrote. It is offensive, not only to the values protected by the First Amendment, but to the very notion of a free society, that in the context of everyday public discourse, a citizen must first inform the government of her desire to speak to her neighbors, and then obtain a permit to do so. That is the voice of our highest court. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the least bit worried about this ordinance. As a pro-life activist, as a community activist, because I know that within days, if not hours, of its passage, it will be enjoined in federal court. Amen. My only concern is that the newspapers and the small business or somebody like that might get there before I do, because I would really like to be the one who files that lawsuit. And maybe then we'll get to go back before Judge Virginia Kendall, with whom the city has already been involved in a lawsuit with myself and the pro-life group here in the Fox Valley. But I hope it doesn't get to that point. I'm really not here today to talk to you as a pro-life activist, as somebody who does this kind of door-to-door leafleting. I'm here to talk to you as a citizen of Aurora who doesn't want to see his city government embroiled in another lawsuit restricting freedom of speech in our community. As a parent, it's horrifying to me that an effort to deal with a real problem, the problem of newspaper trash, I deal with it at my home. That's a real problem. When the newspaper gets stuck into somebody's snowblower, or when there's a pile of newspapers on a vacant property, or when I get home from vacation and find some advertising circulars have piled up on my steps. That's a real problem. That should be addressed. But to see that real problem addressed with such a bazooka gun of a response, where what we really need is a slingshot, that really bothers me. Let me return to what Stevens said. This is offensive not only to the First Amendment, which is going to solve the problem, as far as I'm concerned. This ordinance is not going to see a lot of day, but to the very notion of a free society. You know, people read the newspaper. They hear a report about some new law being passed. Look, I'm very familiar with these kinds of things. People will see something in the newspaper about this, and whether the thing's passed or not, they'll wonder if maybe they're not allowed to pass out flyers about the babysitting service, or about the lost dog, or about, you know, the local issue they're concerned about. As, for example, in 2007, when Planned Parenthood came to town, we didn't have 30 days to submit our permit applications. We had to get out on the street the next day and start passing out flyers to our neighbors about this issue. That it would cross people's minds. They might have to ask the government for permission to engage in this kind of traditional free speech in our country. It should horrify us. That's right. It should horrify us, the thought that we would have to appeal to the government for permission to pass out a flyer in our neighborhoods. The very fact that this ordinance has been proposed, that these particular changes have been proposed to deal with that real problem, is offensive. And I would urge the council to go back to the drawing board. Look at what you can do to deal with that trash problem without this incredibly broad and sweeping and unconstitutional ordinance, which will only cheapen our sense of free speech in Aurora. It will embroil the city in yet another lawsuit over civil rights, and it will not really deal with the problem at hand, because it will be struck down. Let's really solve this problem, not at the expense of our free speech. Newspaper trash is a real concern, but trashing the First Amendment isn't the way to solve it. Thank you.